What's going on? It's Nick here from Ways of Wealth. Thank you for tuning in. Week 35 of the market recap. For all of you that are returning, thank you so much for your support. For those that are brand new, welcome to my channel. We highlight key events that happened in the market over the past week. So I'd like to ask you a huge favor. If you learn something new, if you get some value out of this video, smash that thumbs up button. It definitely helps me out. And for those of you that haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on. We do this every single week. We have a great episode lined up. As always, we're going to be talking about Jackson Hole. We're going to be talking about Jerome Powell and some changes that are going to be made to the monetary policy that you need to consider for your portfolio. All right, let's dive in. So this past week was the infamous Jackson Hole Conference, now traditionally held in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, but obviously due to the events that everybody already knows about, it was held virtually. Now this is a conference where central bankers, government officials, economists, the like, all meet together in one central location. They talk about economic policy. So this was one of the most highly anticipated events that was happening this month. It gave us some indication of, what the Fed is planning to do in the coming months, if not coming years. So they traditionally look at the policy every 5 years and see what changes need to be made. And what we learned out of this conference is that Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve's main focus is on employment. So let's take a brief look at some snippets and break them down.
We continue to believe that specifying a numerical goal for employment is unwise because the maximum level of employment is not directly measurable and changes over time, for reasons unrelated to monetary policy.
So we learned that the Federal Reserve will they'll get rid of all targets for unemployment. Why? Because it's too hard to determine what the natural rate of employment is. How many people in your economy should be working when we see the economic conditions change month to month, if not year to year?
In addition, we have not changed our view that a longer-run inflation rate of 2% is most consistent with our mandate to promote both maximum employment and price stability.
Nothing has changed here. Inflation targets over the long run should be anchored at around 2%. And that is the goal still today.
Finally, we continue to believe that monetary policy must be forward-looking, taking into account the expectations of households and businesses and the lags in monetary policy's effect on the economy.
What Jay is addressing is that the Fed will make the necessary changes in order to meet the expectations of both individuals and businesses. So obviously we can see right now that the main focus of the economy is getting people back into the workforce, is getting jobs. So they're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen.
By reducing our scope to support the economy by cutting interest rates, the lower bound increases downward risks to employment and inflation. To counter these risks, we are prepared to use our full range of tools to support the economy. With regard to the employment side of our mandate, our revised statement emphasizes that maximum employment is a broad-based and inclusive goal. This change reflects our appreciation for the benefits of a strong labor market, particularly for many in low and moderate income communities.
Jerome reinstates the fact that they've already lowered the interest rates to the lower end of that bar, close to 0%. This is supposed to ignite a expansionary monetary policy. So what does that mean? That means that they're making the interest rates low to encourage businesses to take out loans, to get money to grow their business. And in turn, by growing the business, they will hire more staff. And they're still under the belief that a strong labor market is a great sign of a healthy economy.
We have also made important changes with regard to the price stability side of our mandate. Our longer run goal continues to be an inflation rate of 2%. Our statement emphasizes that our actions to achieve both sides of our dual mandate will be most effective if longer-term inflation expectations remain well anchored at 2%. However, If inflation runs below 2% following economic downturns, but never moves above 2% even when the economy is strong, then, over time, inflation will average less than 2%. Households and businesses will come to expect this result, meaning that inflation expectations would tend to move below our inflation goal and pull realized inflation down. To prevent this outcome and the adverse dynamics that could ensue, our new statement indicates that we will seek to achieve inflation that averages 2% over time. Therefore, following periods when inflation has been running below 2%, appropriate monetary policy will likely aim to achieve inflation moderately above 2% for some time.
To sum this up, the Federal Reserve will allow inflation to run higher than 2% in order to achieve maximum employment. How much higher than 2%? It was not addressed in Jay Powell's speech, but was answered by Robert Kaplan, who is the Dallas Fed's president, that inflation could range between 2.25 to 2.5%.
Of course, if excessive inflationary pressures were to build, or inflation expectations were to ratchet above levels consistent with our goal, we would not hesitate to act. The revisions to our statement add up to a robust updating of our monetary policy framework. To an extent, these revisions reflect the way we have been conducting policy in recent years. At the same time, however, there are some important new features. Overall, our new statement on longer-run goals and monetary policy strategy conveys our continued strong commitment to achieving our goals, given the difficult challenges presented by the proximity of interest rates to the effective lower bound. In conducting monetary policy, we will remain highly focused on fostering as strong a labor market as possible for the benefit of all Americans. And we will steadfastly seek to achieve a 2% inflation rate over time.
Here, Jerome Powell recaps that the adjustments being made are based on the current economic situation. Traditionally, in the past, they will have flexibility on the interest rates, but due to the fact that those are already close to zero, and they've stressed that they will not go into negative territory, as it's had no benefit in the European Central Bank and it's had no benefits in Japan, which have been negative for many years. They've decided to use inflation as a measure to get people back into the job market. And why is there such a pressure on this? Is because they want to create a sense of equality. They believe that a fully employed economy is a signal of a strong market and will benefit everybody in the spectrum, lower class all the way to higher class. So it seems like inflation is already kicking in. I've seen this personally with food prices. My grocery costs are going up over the past couple months. And if you look at the employment report that came out, over 1 million people claimed unemployment. So you kind of have similarities to stagflation. Now what stagflation is a stagnant economy with rising prices. And that's something that I will touch on in a video in the future, so stay tuned for that. But what I want to basically highlight to you is that the purchasing power will decrease as inflation rises. So the dollar that you have today won't buy as much as a dollar can in the future. So it would be best to look at the cash reserves that you have in your portfolio or an emergency fund and look for investment vehicles that can maintain that value, can maintain that purchasing power in the future. I'm not sure what that is for you based on your risk tolerance, but it's definitely something to consider as we see inflation continue to rise. And that is all this week for the market recap. Thank you again for your support and watching. I'd like to ask you a huge favor. If you have learned something, if you've gotten value out of this video, smash the like button. And don't forget to subscribe, turn that notification bell on. We do this every single week. I'll throw my Instagram up here, and I want you all to have a great week on the markets. Happy trading.